Intertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Hey everybody, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the Intertalk Radio Network. Guys, welcome, man. I'm excited. It's a Country Friday in Los Angeles here, man. It's Friday, February the 24th. And I got to tell you, man, I'm proud and I'm privileged to have on my show today in the studio an amazing and fierce drummer. I'm also producer, spokesperson, the list goes down the line. And we're going to talk all about everything that encapsulates Mr. Rich, I'm going to sneeze here, Rich Richmond. And with that said, let's welcome with open arms and open ears to the show, Jackie's Groove. Please welcome Mr. Rich Richmond. Rich, welcome, brother.
How are you, brother? Thanks for having me.
You know
on,
what?
man.
It's a great day, man.
Great to be with you.
Oh, it's great. I can't find out more about you because the majority of the people that I've been blessed with to interview are friends that I go back 20, 30, 40 years with. It shows how old I am. And the fact of the matter is now you and I, we're new friends, but we have a lot of friends in common in this business. So with that said, let's chop it up. Let's have a great time. And for the listeners out there, if you have any questions, please go on to intertalkradio.com. And we have a live feed there under live stream. If you have any questions for Rich, please bring them forward and I will get on to it. So with that said, hey, Rich, where were you born and where were you raised, brother?
Yeah, man. I am originally a New England kid. I'm from Milford, Connecticut, small town in Connecticut.
Cool.
I was there the first 11 years of my life. Started playing drums, when dinosaurs roamed the earth. This was like 76, 77,
Absolutely.
6, 7 years old. And I was hitting everything in sight. My dad said, hey, you want to play the drums? And he took me to this place called the Milford Percussion and Guitar Workshop. And I got the Gladstone pad and the Blue Sparkle snare drum. And I was working on a Joel Rothman books. And then I got a kick drum and a cymbal and I was playing along with Kiss records and Queen records. And then my dad got a job in El Paso, Texas, which is like as far as you could possibly be removed from New England. And so we moved to El Paso, Texas when I'm 11. And that worked out great because Texas has this amazing music education culture. And, still to this day, if you want to be a music teacher, it is the best state in the union to teach music in because there's so much support for marching bands, concert bands, pep bands, jazz ensembles. So it was really good. It was actually a great move for me to kind of grow up in El Paso, Texas.
And that's so cool because when you talk about this stuff, I always usually ask the interviewee, how old were you when you first started playing drums? And you kind of qualified that. But let me ask you a question. Is there any other instrument that you find in your hands that you are capable of?
I have my master's degree in music education and classical percussion. So, anything you could beat, rub, shake, rattle, scrape, I studied. And of course, some functional piano, a couple guitars on, chords on the guitar. But I just feel like, it takes a lifetime of pursuit just to, play the drums, so that's kind of my means of expression. And then I do other things, that are related in the entertainment industry that take up a lot of my time. But when it comes to, guitar and piano, I just surround myself with great talent. I'm a person that knows how to surround themselves with friends that have like all the right skill sets. But yeah, a little bit of functional everything,
And I see that you are a DW artist.
Yes, I've been with DW, I believe, going on 6 years now. Before that, I was with Sonar Drums for a decade, and I got more and more and more involved with educational events and doing my own clinics and workshops and master classes, and I just couldn't get the drums in the United States. I wasn't able to find the drums. And if I was in Los Angeles and DeJohnette, needed his drums at center staging, I was out of luck, So it was just perfect timing. I was teaching a lot at the Drum Channel and got to meet Don Lombardi, and it coincided with, I guess that was all just like the perfect timing. I think I had gotten Country Drummer of the Year in Drum Magazine, and my boss was on the cover of Billboard Magazine. So they were like, "Hey, do you want to play our drums?" And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." And since then, I can go visit.
They are a proud sponsor of ours. Don Lombardi and John Good are very, very close friends of myself. And of course, now that DW is the sole proprietor and owner of LP Music, which I've been with for 27 years. So it's all under the one family roof in Oxnard, California. So I know they're tuning in. So it's great. We have so many amazing DW artists. It was a no-brainer from us partnering up with them itself. And it's a great step. And you're also with ProMark. Correct me if I'm wrong on sticks.
Yeah. What it was, just to say, a beautiful family with Don and John and everybody over there. And I hang out with Scott a lot, in the marketing department, and of course Jules in the educational department. But yeah, I was just there one week ago today. But yeah, I've been with ProMark a long time. Oh my God, probably, 12 years. And, just finally released a signature drumstick that's available globally. And
beautiful.
People say, how long did that take to develop? And I said, pretty much about 4 years. Me and Marco Sicoli going back and forth, trying to find the right materials, weight, tip size. We were thinking about having it be the world's only drumstick that became pre-wrapped with stick wrap. And then we said, well, let's just do this active grip stuff. And so that's worked out really, really, really well. So a stick that took 4 years to develop, but 46 years to make happen.
You dig. And also, you and I are label mates with Sabian, too. I've been with Sabian for 22 years. And correct me if I'm wrong, you are a Sabian artist also?
Yeah, see here, what would that be? 14 years or so? Yeah, 14 years. Same thing. Big, everybody makes an incredible product. You have to make an incredible product these days in the marketplace. And everybody is, but I'm at the places that I'm at because of the people and the relationships with the people and the fact that they would believe in me as a recording artist, a touring artist, and an educator, and that is what they are. It's incredible.
And God bless, man. God bless the people that believe in us and stand behind us and support us during our careers. Because, growing up, you and I can speak for you as a musician, myself as a musician. We busted our ass to put together every little bit of penny we can to afford the good stuff. And then later in life, we've been blessed with the notoriety and worldwide fame as musicians. And then all this stuff starts coming to us free and gratis, which I think is hysterical. Because I tell a lot of the young guys out there, Rich, is that the endorsements of yesteryear are different than the endorsements of today, or the lack thereof endorsements. Everybody wants to jump on board because they want free rig. It's not what endorsements are about, man. It's putting it out there, playing it, and promoting that situation. That's what everything about Intertalk Radio and Jackie's Groove is all about, promoting, in this case, promoting my buddy Rich Richmond. So, Rich, going back on that, I want to ask you another question, if I can be so blatant itself. Obviously, with your plethora of musicians and stars that you play with, and just let me brag on you, Kelly Clarkson. It blows me out of the water when you look at someone, and Miranda Lambert and Joe Perry, and the list goes down the line. But currently out right now, you are kicking it hard with Jason Aldean. And so, that alone is awe-inspiring, just because the fact is these are everyday known. Not everybody knows who Jackie Bertoni is. Not everybody knows who Rich Richmond are, because we are the names below the marquee. But people do know who, obviously, Jason Aldean and Kelly Clarkson and Bryan Adams and so on. But it's because of you and I, musicians, that actually drive that forward and make those guys sound better, or girls sound better than they ever have. And so with that said, you've been influenced all these years by these great stars. But I guess the question that I want to throw to you, and the listeners are interested in listening or finding out, who inspires you? Who inspired you growing up, and who inspires you today?
Sure. Yeah, I think, my first teacher was a guy named Jack Berge, and he was of course inspiring because he taught me how to hold the sticks correctly, and he taught me my rudiments. He taught me to read music. And then when I was in El Paso, Texas, I had a bunch of teachers. I had a gentleman named Byron Mutnick that was a jazz drummer, a guy named Ricky Malachi that was a jazz drummer in the area, Larry White that taught at the University of Texas at El Paso. These were all a guy named Jim Hargrove, all local teachers that I just picked their brains and stole from. And Byron used to tell my mom, he'd be like, when Rich comes to his lesson, I got to make sure that I'm ahead of him, because he's going to make sure that he knows he always comes prepared. And that was the deal. If my parents were putting down money for a drum lesson, I was going to, practice. I always had that kind of work ethic, which is good. It was just a good thing to have because it helped me.
Absolutely.
But then, guys like, of course, Gene Krupa, the guys that first got me hooked, I said, I'm going to do this, were Stuart Copeland when the Police came out with their record in 1983, and Synchronicity. And then Alex Van Halen was playing the 1984 record. Those were kind of the guys. And then I started doing my research and, discovered Carmine Appice and his brother Vinny. And then, I was going back and doing more research about rock and roll guys. So all the bands, the Who, the Stones, the Led Zeppelin, all the bands, the Mount Rushmore of rock drummers. And then, I went going back and doing research about, jazz artists, your Gene Krupas and your
absolutely
Cozy Coles and your Max Roaches and those guys. And I would just transcribe. I would pick somebody to listen to when I was in college, for a month. I would just go buy everything that they possibly put out. I would do the drop needle thing. I would transcribe the records. I would play along with the stuff, And then, in college, I had a teacher, Alan Shin at the Texas Tech University, was fantastic. And then going to the University of North Texas, I had, Dr. Robert Troma, Henry Oxtel, Ed Sof. They're all my teachers. And now I learn from living. I learn from traveling. I learn from life, the rhythms of the world. I'm a people person. I love people. So constantly studying drummers. And even if there's two kinds of music, good and bad, and I like them both because they need a drummer, and then drummers, I try to accentuate the positive. If I go to see a drummer at a nightclub, I'm studying him going, well, I don't like this or this and this. If he improved on this, this, and this, God, it would be amazing. But he does this so well, and I'm going to steal that from him. Or, so I'm constantly learning in that way.
And it's so cool that you said that, because the bottom line is an old joke in the industry for years was the fact of the matter is, hey, man, that dude's got a lot of chops. The good news is he's got a lot of chops. The bad news is he's got a lot of chops, and that goes to a lot of players that overplay. God knows there's a plethora of them out there. I'm not one of them, neither are you. For the fact of the matter is, I know this to the fact that you've been blessed to play on 20 number one hits. I mean, that alone is amazing. I mean, I look back over my legacy, with the Beach Boys and so on, and to know that you've put a thumbprint, because when we're gone, when we're taken from this planet and we go on our merry way, our music and the music that we've played on will last, again, if the music business is still long, will last there forever. And, and so with that said, with all of the amazing abilities that you have in playing, I love it. You're a very aggressive player, and I like that. But at the same time, too, you play in the groove. And a lot of people don't realize this that aren't into country rock. That country rock parallels, and I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, it's a straight groove format. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, it's definitely about the groove. I mean, here's the thing. You're getting typecast. I have been typecast as a player now, and that is actually a luxury to ever have that happen, because you can go the other way and be a jack of all trades and, go through life in obscurity, just being a sideman for people. And it's better to get known for something than nothing. But what people will probably don't know about me is all the weddings and bar mitzvahs and corporate party gigs and playing with calypso bands and playing with salsa bands and cumbia bands and playing jingles and playing film scores. And they don't know all that about me. The only thing they know about me is they see me playing these arenas with this guy playing boom, whack, boom, boom, whack, but it's all the other stuff that playing big band music and playing small group jazz and fusion music and all that. And having an understanding of all that and how it gets all mixed up is what makes me play boom, pa, boo, boo, pa in my own unique way. So, but yeah, it's what Nashville taught me was to stay out of the way. It's about the vocal. And if I could paint within those lines, my job as a Nashville studio musician is to paint the Mona Lisa or the Blue Boy. But it has to be, it's almost like paint by numbers. It's like it could be super colorful, but I have to stay in the lines if it's going to get on the radio. So it's all about the vocal. And if there's just one little thing I could do to make a difference on a track, like there's a track on a Thompson Square record that I co-produced and played drums on where I played no cymbal crashes and barely any fills. And it was just like a conscious decision, to do that thing. Or if there's one little smartly placed hi-hat opening or floor tom lick, if there's the right spot, but that doesn't step on the vocal, then, my job is done. I love that. And then there's a phrase that goes around. They say, a live drummer plays a song 1,000 times like it's the first time he's ever played it. And a recording drummer plays it that one time like he's played it 1,000 times. And both of those things feed off each other. I've never limited myself to being a recording drummer or a touring drummer because I just know that both those things feed each other. Because if you're doing a great job for somebody in the studio and you're easy to work with and you're creative and you can take direction and the people enjoy being around you and you're passionate, they go, well, I got to have this guy on my live gig. And then if you're on the live gig and you're burying the click and you're smiling and you could do all those same things, you're like, well, shoot, this guy can execute. I can bring him into the studio. And that's how I always approach my career.
I love that you said a second ago, you just said bear the click. People who know me in the industry, they know when they send me tracks to record on, they know right away, oh, no, don't send it with the click. Take the click out. Jackie does not like the click. And that's not being egotistical at all. Just the fact is that there's one thing I pride myself on is being unerring when it comes to timing. And we're going to talk more about that because you brought up some great points about, when in doubt, lay out, or as I think it was, I don't remember who it was. It said, when in doubt, roll. And, that was some great terms. And we're going to bring up a lot of people that we have in common, since you and I don't have that much in common in the way of working together, live or recorded. So when we come back on the next segment, Rich, I want you to put your thinking cap on, and we're going to educate the listeners and educate the young boys out there also and young girls of what it's going to take to get into the business, and more importantly, how to stay relevant in the business. And that's a rarity nowadays. There's a handful of us out there that have been blessed. And as long as we keep doing that groove and playing it right, the phones will continue to ring. So with that said, the last 14 seconds of segment number 1, this is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the almighty Intertalk Radio Network. And we'll be right back with my in-studio guest, legendary, fierce country rock drummer, Mr. Rich Richmond. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on this segment break. Stay tuned.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back. This is Jackie Bertoni. Segment number 2 on Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. Hey guys, I want to tell you something, man. To err is human. I said it 3 times on the last segment. I've kept calling my in-studio guest with the last name of Redmond, R-E-D-M-O-N-D. Write it down, people. And if to err is human, I'm superhuman today. Trust me when I tell you, I bit my tongue, as I told Rich on the break, at the same time in the same location. So if I scream, it's only because of that. And with that said about screaming, let's talk about those screaming sticks on that last song we just came in with. Richard, Billy. Who is the artist on that? Share with the audience. Rich, that was amazing, that tune.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool artist that lives here in Nashville. She's from New York City. Her name is Masha. And if you look up Masha, M-A-S-H-A, on iTunes or Spotify, I'm sure you can find her music. But, yeah, we were talking about Michael Rhodes. That's Michael Rhodes on bass, and that's Taylor Swift's producer, like doing all the other instruments. And it was really fun. She just has a cool rock pop sound. And, you know, we went into the studio and, you know, we just cut without a click track, or that's got a loop on it. So that was kind of fun to kind of play. And we cut it to tape, which was really fun. It's just a nice, warm, saturated sound. If anybody listening hasn't recorded the tape yet, you've got to try to experience that in your life once, you know. So, yeah, so check out her music. She's fantastic.
Very Alanis Morissette, you know, and forgive me because I'm a big fan of hers. So she has that kind of a drawl on that. And also, you brought up a great point. You brought up a situation right now. You just said the word loop. To the uneducated out there that's listening to the show, explain in layman terms what you meant by loop.
Yeah, so a loop is any kind of like repeated rhythmic figure, or like you can call it an ostinato. And there's so many different ways you can play to a loop these days. You can create a loop, which is what I do all the time is you could put on a click track, and then the drummer can play to that click track. And then a lot of times the engineer or the producer or you yourself as a drummer can affect the sound of that loop by lo-fiing it. You can make it sound like a 12-bit recording, and you can use all the plugins and any of your digital audio workstations to make it kind of murky sounding, like, and then the drummer will kind of dance and weave around that groove with playing with the drums on top of that. So, very common for verses to have just a loop and then the real drums come in on the chorus. So, it's a very common thing.
Who's a master of that? Let me jump in here. Let me jump in real quick. And a master who does that in the studio, I'm sure you know him. I know you know him. He's your label mate, Mr. John J.R. Robinson. John is the master of playing around a loop. I mean, of all the hits that this man has played on. And let me ask you a question, Rich. How old are you?
I'm 46.
You look great, brother. And the reason why I asked that, you just brought up another situation for the young listeners out there. I mean, I am a culprit to the fact that I am a Pro Tool champion. I mean, all the major labels are sending stuff to my home studio. And it's the same sound they get in the studio that I get from here. And that's okay. But I got to tell you something. And all the old guys like you and me, I'm older than you are, but all of our bandmates and the J.R. Robinsons and the Sugarfoot Moffats, and the list can go down the line. There's something that we miss, and you just brought up the term. It's called a 2-inch MPEG reel. And there's nothing more beautiful than that sound of that rewinding, that sound that you don't get on Logic or Pro Tools. In fact, I even have a sound bite of that. So when I'm screwed up in my studio, I hit that little soundbite on my iPhone, and it kind of brings me all back to that self. And it's a good point that you brought up itself. You know, you've been through it long enough. Do you prefer being in a big room? Do you prefer recording to tape, or do you have a preference? Share with us.
Well, yeah, I'm thank God lucky that I am still recording in big rooms. You know, we're about to record Jason Aldean's 8th record, but we've got a fun little body of work there. He's got 7 records out. I'm about to have played on my 23rd #1 song with the same rhythm section and the same producer and the same artist at the same studio. It's a studio in Nashville called Treasure Isle Studios, and it's got a long history of just really awesome music coming out of it. And the engineer, a guy named Pete Coleman, did all the Blondie records, all the Pat Benatar records. He recorded My Sharona. So he's a big fan of drums, you know, he's a British chap. We have a great time together, but that's a big room with 30-foot ceilings, and there's an 8-piece band on the floor, like the Motown era, and we are all recording at the same time. And I'm very proud of it, because I know that there's a lot of people that most records being done these days is the producer goes in and does the drums, and then it's guitar week, and then it's bass week. And it's like, no, we go in and we have 90 minutes. We hear the song for the first time. The drum track is never more than the 3rd take. Usually it's the 2nd. And that's it, because we're playing songs in Nashville that are so well written, they just about play themselves. And the musicians are so good and so intuitive and so articulate and are so dialed in. I love doing that. And then there's some smaller rooms around town that have you're kind of in a closet, and they've got the house kit, and you go. And then, of course, much like you, I have a room here in Nashville I call it Crash Studio. It's 550 square feet, and I've got my vintage drums and modern drums and tons of snare drums and percussion. It's all mic'd up into Pro Tools, ready to go.
Yep.
Which is great.
You just described my studio. You just
yeah, it's me and an engineer, and I'm a social creature. You know, I'm Italian, man. I like to be around people.
Likewise.
You know, and I don't think that'll ever change.
It's great that you brought that up too, because you know we just talked on the break itself. One of your good friends, one of my dear friends for years, is Danny De Los Reyes, or Danny Reyes. He's the percussionist with a small group called Zach Brown, and I'm saying that sarcastically. And I go back real deep with the Reyes family. Wally Reyes, Wilfredo Reyes Jr., drummer for Santana, and Steve Winwood, and currently on the percussion chair for Chicago for the past 6 years. And I even had the benefit of interviewing Wally Sr. I mean, with these older patriarchs of the industry, as they get older, we're going to start specializing. I'm actually going to be interviewing Pops Escovedo, Sheila E.'s father, because like Wally Jr. said and Danny said, when Dad is gone, so go the stories. And, and we hope that we get to the part where Rich and Jackie can get old enough in the industry that know that people will be asking us for the stories of how it was in the Pro Tool days, how it was in the smaller studios, the bigger studios. Music is music if it's played right. And I've always said myself, growing up with the group I started with, Tower of Power, their motto has always been what is tight is right. And that's the main reason why you bring this in, because talking, we had the benefit, I said, to interview Al Jarreau last year, and we just lost Al a week ago Sunday. God bless you, sir. And, it's like we always talked about the fact of being real musicians, listening to the music. When in doubt, lay out. Don't be overly busy, and so on, And that came from a man who made his living as a scat player. But listening to the tunes that you're playing on and the stuff that I've kind of educated myself on Rich Redmond, is that you don't overplay. You play it hard, and it's very, very cool the way you do it. And obviously, and you just brought something up a second ago, you have the same rhythm section and the same engineer. And I told a lot of young guys itself, people said to me, Jackie, you are based in San Diego County, but you record all over the world. And there's a reason for that. And you'll understand this, is that when you are hired by a producer, they hire you not just because you're the greatest guy in the world, it's because they know whatever they hire you for, Rich is going to handle it without having them looking over his shoulder. And that's why I've been blessed over the years there's many other percussionists in New York and in Chicago and so on, but I get the call because you've got a long-term relationship with the producer and the engineer. So thank you for bringing that part up. That makes a lot of sense. And also, too, I wanted to ask you one situation. You just brought up Jason Aldean again. Are you guys currently out, or are you guys on a hiatus right now?
We're on a little hiatus. As a matter of fact, it's an interesting story, because we have basically been touring nonstop 10 10 and a half months a year for 12 years. And so I'm just on my 4th month we've got like a little like 5.5 month break, and we've got one gig in March. We're going to get together and dust it off and go do it. And then we're going to reinvent ourselves in April and go in for 7 days and get the new production together and maybe, do some new segues and intros and just put a little shellac on these hits that have been around for the last, 15 years. So I'm looking forward to that. And, we built it with the sweat of our brows. We played for those 5 drunks and turned them into fans, and everybody went back, and there was 50 people and then 500 and 5,000. And then it became 25,000. And that was with 225 shows a year. And for the last 6 years, we've been doing 85 shows a year through a Live Nation contract. And now this year, we're just going to do 55. I think my boss is going to get to the point where we just want to do 40 shows a year, which makes me happy because it allows me to be creative in other ways and work my other muscles in the music business and my other entertainment businesses, which is fun.
Rich, let me ask you this question, and you brought up a good point here. And as I ask a lot of the artists that play with the famous people worldwide, I had on Richie Kanata Wednesday. He's the legendary saxophonist with a guy by the name of Billy Joel. And I ask everybody who works with major stars, and I'm going to ask you the same question right now, not to be redundant because the listeners love the answers that come from you. Let's talk about Jason for a second. And then I don't want to talk about his personal life or anything else or what he likes to eat for breakfast in the morning. But let's talk about him on stage, him in the studio. And if you can answer this, PC, clearly, politically correct if you want, but is Jason a star or is he a homeboy and road dog like you and I are? Does he hang with the band?
Oh, yeah, we're all best pals. We go back to – I've actually been working with Jason 18 years. So I've known him forever. And it's the same rhythm section and the same guys. And like I said, we kind of built this thing on the sweat of our brow together. And I'll have to say, I've worked with a lot of artists, and he's never canceled a show. He's never called in sick, and he's never had vocal problems. And he just is the most consistent singer in the world. He really is.
Yeah, it's a fair question, because people want to know that. I mean, I know a lot. I won't mention names, but we have a lot of musical friends in common that work with stars. And the bottom line is, all those stars don't think their shit doesn't stink. So-and-so's ready for you now, and we're not going to talk about it right now until he or she walks in the room. I mean, that's bullshit. And believe me, I've been around the who's who of the entertainment business, and everybody I've been around, I've been thankful because they're the ones that sit down and break bread with you. And there's none of that that hierarchy. It's none of that bullshit that goes along with that. And I'm sure, without mentioning names, I'm sure you've dealt with stars also, but all you can do is smile, play your music, and take the money. And, the bottom line is we're not doing this for our health. We're doing this to keep a roof over our head, and looking at your itinerary here, I got to ask you a question because I have a huge crush on her. Always have. What's Miranda Lambert like?
Miranda's great. She's super talented. It was back in the day, we were coming up at the exact same time together. So we would flip flop headlining. She would open for us. We would open for her. And then, she quickly just went on to become, a very, very prolific songwriter as well. She writes all of her own songs.
Right.
And super talented and super sweet. And I have to tell you, like, if you go to richredmond.com, REDMOND.com, and you look at all those little interesting names that have happened, in the last 20 years, I've been able to play with these people. Not any of them were divas. They're all very just approachable people. We see each other to this day at the award shows or backstage. It's like, how you doing? Get big hugs, I think there's a mutual respect that can come from even if a person is a superstar, they're on the cover of the magazines. They seem to still respect the side, like, I'm a sideman musician, but there's a respect there that's like, this dude's been in this town for 20 years and he has not left and he keeps showing up with a smile on their face. And if people don't want to like you, they're still going to like shake your hand in the hallway because you're like, this dude did it. He is still here. He's like a cockroach. And so I think there's just a respect that comes from being a survivor in the music business,
And that's so great, man, because, I'll be honest. I'll be the first one to say with a lot of the big people I work with, I'm a fanboy. I mean, the fact of the matter is I'm there because they've requested me to be there. So there's obviously that mutual admiration of my ability to play percussion. But at the same time, too, like one of my closest friends I've known since 1990, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Michael McDonald. I mean, you talk about the most humble cat you will ever meet in your life. Al Jarreau, the most humble cat you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, I had a great interview a couple weeks ago with Sugarfoot Moffett, Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffett, Michael Jackson's drummer since 1979 with the Jacksons up until the day Michael passed away. And it's amazing when to find out that Jonathan Sugarfoot was closer to Michael than Michael was with his own brothers. And when I, on a much lower scale, when I'm at a local club and an owner will walk up and he'll say, "Hey man, thank you for coming in, sitting in with the band. It's so nice, man. And it's so cool that you're so humble." And I go, "Well, I appreciate that, but how was I supposed to be?" They go, "Well, we were on your Facebook page. We were on your website and, you played with everybody." I said, "Yeah, but I'm not the everybody. My name's not on the marquee. And if they don't have an attitude, why in God's name am I going to have an attitude?" I'm just grateful every day I get up and my hands are still working. But with that said, do you still every once in a while, let's forget about Jason because Jason's your homeboy, okay? But let's talk about say Kelly Clarkson or anybody that's big out there. Do you ever catch Rich pinching himself and going, "My God, that is so-and-so in front of me. I'm playing with him." Do you still get that excitement in that fanboy way about yourself, or did you ever have that at all?
No, I don't fanboy. No, I just know that these people poop and pay taxes. And you know what I mean? That's what keeps
my wife says the same thing.
They poop and pay
my
taxes.
Wife says the same thing. As long as they put their pants on. Yeah, it's it.
Yeah. But no, it's just a thing where if, you put your time in and you stay in the trenches and you're humble and approachable and directable and you keep showing up, you will find yourself in situations with those people. You know what I mean? You will be in the room with those people. So it's been really fantastic. But I show up with the same passion going to play a wedding or a jazz brunch or a showcase for some new artist that no one has ever heard of, because I get to play the drums and I'm interacting with people, and it's a gift from God. It's our highest form of communication. It's a luxury. It's something that I rap. I'm so grateful for. So it's all great. It's fantastic.
And Rich, we're going on the last 30 seconds. You know what I do when I get back on segment number 3, and I can't believe we're going on the full hour of a 2-hour interview with you, my brother. Let's talk about what we do in our normal lives. I want to know, I love to eat. I'm Italian. You don't have to be Italian to love to eat. And I want to get back. I want to talk about what you like to stuff down your gullet, what makes you happy. And we're going to talk more about that when we come back on segment number 3 with my in-studio guest, Mr. Rich Redmond. Excuse me. There's the tongue again. I bet the damn thing again. Hey everybody, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Talk Radio Network. Guys, don't go anywhere. I'm going to remove my tongue, and when we come back, we're going to pick it up again with my in-studio guest, amazing, iconic drummer to the stars, Mr. Rich Redmond. Guys, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Blind someone. Other women I see none. She's like staring at the sun. She gets on you, under your skin like a tattoo. She'll always be there. Like standing in the rain, washes all my cares away.
Hey, baby. Welcome back, everybody. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. My in-studio guest today, amazing drummer. In fact, the drumsticks behind that song you just heard, Mr. Rich Redmond. Rich, who was that artist? Talk to me about that song. I'm digging on it.
Jason, that was Jason Aldean. You know, we've got
of course 7
records, a nice body of work. There's probably, what is that? It's probably almost close to 100 songs that we recorded on those 7 records. 18 or 19 of them were number 1 songs, which is really, really cool. But that was a B-side, and that just haunts me as one of my favorites that never got released, that definitely could have been released. You know, usually there's 3 to 5 songs per record that get released in singles, but that one just has such amazing storytelling, and just I like the sound of the snare drum. That's one of my favorite sounds, like the baseball bat and a birthday cake kind of sound, you know, Fleetwood Mac, and just the space. You know, I implore any student out there that's working on, you know, playing their double bass at 400 and, you know, soloing against left foot clave and all that stuff is all great skills to have, but work on playing that kind of breezy feel where you don't change anything at all for 3.5 minutes. And you'll get a lot of smiles and you'll get a lot of work.
You know, and that's really cool too, because you talked about earlier in the second segment, we talked about, you know, the ability to be the A players, the yo cats as we call them here in LA. And we go in there, and there's one thing you brought up, a little bit jealous on you, because I've only had this opportunity one time, and that opportunity was to record as a conducive unit in the studio, not like you see where the drummer comes in, the bass player comes in, keyboard overdubs, and so on. Unfortunately, me as a percussionist, I am the overdub king. I'm the guy that walks in there, and I'm the one that, you know, it kind of fills up the loose holes and so on if there's anything out there, obviously with the great players that I've been blessed to play with drum-wise. But I had that experience. I'm going to bring up a name, and I know it's going to warm your heart, my friend. But I did an album back in 1990 with Michael McDonald and Henry Capono. And on that album was also a group called the Tower Power Horn Section. On bass was Mr. Mike Porcaro, and on drums was Mr. Jeff Porcaro. And let me tell you, I was a young guy, man. It was one of my first major albums that I did. And we're talking about the big reggae group Third World and Jimmy Fadden from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. I can go on and talk about it. But Jeff Porcaro taught me how to work it right. We went into the studio in a song called Insaya. It's a Hawaiian slang for the word inside of. And the fact was, when we walked in there, Jeff, who showed up on this session with about, I would say, not kiddingly, about 25 different snare drums. Pork Pie Percussion is the one that did his cartage. I felt sorry for the cat that did it. And we walked in the studio, and when we recorded this song, Jeff had his whole trap set broken down. And check this out, Rich. He went back in with a 18-inch kick, a snare drum, a hi-hat, a tom, and I think just a ride cymbal. And he sat in front of me, man, and he said, and he had my percussion, my congas facing him. We were face to face. And I went into this commando gear, and he said, let me show you how it's done. And we recorded this song live, and I watched Mr. Porcaro sitting there with that ash that was longer than the cigarette, and it didn't break off. And the fact is, this man showed me what the groove was all about. And that, listening to your music, it is what the groove is all about. It's digging a hole so deep that you got to get a ladder out of it. And everything I've heard so far from your music, you stay true to that. And we asked a little while ago, and I didn't get an answer from you. Do you enjoy or despise the click track like I despise it?
Oh, well, in today's world, I would say that 99% of records and touring acts are all on a click. So you kind of have to make friends with it. And then, when I overdub percussion, whether it be on my tracks or other drummers' tracks, I will fine tune the mix to where now the drums have been recorded. So now I could drop the click, right, and I could just have it as a reference. So when the holes are there, it also helps, really subdivide and find out where the drummer is placing everything. I just see it as a tool. Right. So yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all, really.
And let me ask you this question. You just brought up a good point about that too. When you're in the studio, even though you are Rich Redmond and you're hired because of your talents, but is the stuff that's written, let's forget about Jason for a second. Let's talk about some new artists. The music that goes in there, is that written for you, or are you going in there and saying, this is how I want to put my signature on it? Share with the listeners that way how it is to walk into a gig, on a gig that you've been hired first time out.
Sure. The way we do it in Nashville is we have a system of charting called the Nashville number system. And what I would do is I would just Google that. My friend Jim Riley, who'd be a great guest on your show. He's the band leader for a pop country group called the Rascal Flatts. He wrote a book called the Nashville number system. And so basically it's just a way of outlining the harmonic structure of a song. And in Nashville, we're usually you're only going to have, 3 to 5 chords in the song, because it's about 3 chords in the truth. It's storytelling. So you outline the harmonic structure. And so I will get a Nashville number system of that particular song all scribbled out. Okay. And then there will be either the artist is there with a guitar and he's playing the guitar and you're following the Nashville number chart and making choices and you're making notations and on your part, or there's already a demo, and the demo could be very, very barren, like just the guitar, a vocal, and maybe a drum loop, or maybe it's a full production demo with a full band that have recorded the demo, and then you're talking to the engineer, the producer, and they're saying, I really like what this guy did. And that's what happens in Nashville. Sometimes you're the guy that plays on the demo, and sometimes you're the guy that plays on the master recording. And the only usually difference is that when you're playing the master, you just have a little bit more time. You might have a little bit more time to discuss things with the band, take chances, adjust the tempos, pick a different snare drum. Playing demos in Nashville is what helps me so much, because there'd be days where I was playing between 15 and 21 songs in a 9-hour period. Mm-hmm. And so you're basically playing a song every 25 to 35 minutes, and that's hearing it for the first time and then going in and then playing the drum part, programming a loop, playing drums on top, and then overdubbing a tambourine, shaker, maraca vibe next. And it's just all day. And it's just a highly intuitive skill set where you pretty much have to know kind of the history of music from the last 100 years, because the producer might reference musical artists or a period of time in music or a particular drummer to say, this is kind of feel I want. So you really have to know your stuff. You really have to know your stuff, and you have to be able to go in there and execute with or without a click, lead and drive a band. You have to be able to lead and follow at the same time. And it just happens from experience. So, and then there's times also where I might just have to replace a drum machine. So I'll write out the drum machine part. They're like, maybe they love the programming part, but they want it with a human feel. So since I was classically trained, like Kenny Aronoff and all these other session drummers in New York, in New York and LA, I could scribble out note for note what the other guy did, and then just capture that with my humanity. So there's always a couple different ways to do things. There's also just phrase charts. Sometimes I'm just literally writing out a phrase chart, which is a 4-bar intro, 8-bar verse, 2-bar pre-chorus, chorus, and then I'm listening to what the producer or the artist wants. Go to the ride cymbal on the chorus, or go to the loose hi-hat on the bridge. that kind of stuff. And you just have to be able to make your notes very quickly and then go in there and execute with a smile on your face. And then you'll keep getting invited back and back, hopefully.
And Rich, your passion for the studio, I can feel it right now, deep in my heart and so on. But let me ask you this fair question. I think it's fair. Preferences, live performance or studio? What calls you? What beckons you more?
Yeah. I love the sweat and the immediacy and the intimate communication that playing live is. And plus I'm such a ham, right. I'm an entertainer, I'm a comedian, I'm a character. So I love to play live,
Absolutely.
But the idea of playing a record is just the process where everybody's, honkered around and being creative, and you could pull up different snare drums and everyone's drinking coffee, and just, it's that communal thing.
Right.
It's just so fun. I got to have both of those things in my life. If I'm booked on a bunch of sessions and I start missing playing live, and if I'm just a road dog in it, I'll miss that going into the studio. So doing both, I think, is really, really fun. And then, and also having some other creative pursuits. I've never really had a whole lot of creative pursuits in the last 20 years, because you're so focused on being a great drummer. But now that I'm in my midlife,
right,
I've been exploring other creative outlets, and it helps my drumming. It helps my humanity, which helps my drumming,
Let's talk about that next set too, because I'm pretty amazed by that. I want to educate the listeners out there. There's more to Rich than just sitting behind a bunch of tubs and playing, and with that said, I think it's just really cool that you just brought that situation up, because I'm curious. I can answer my own questions, but let's talk about like a lot of the luminaries that we're dealing with. Since we've been around for such a long time, do you give the same energy on stage for a crowd of 1,000 people versus a crowd of 50,000 people? Does it matter the size of the audience to Rich Redmond?
Absolutely not. No, I freak people out, because I'll play a club and I'll be playing with some rock band or pop band or Americana or whatever. And, you have to play the dynamics of the room, but there's like an intensity, like when you saw Keith Moon was not a classically trained musician. He was an actor that learned how to play the drums, and he probably wouldn't have sounded very good in any other band other than The Who. But he was the perfect drummer for The Who. But yeah, there's a serious intensity, whether I'm playing a bossa nova at a damn jazz brunch, or if I'm, doing a rock 5-song rock showcase for somebody. I'm in it, because you could die right then and there, man. That could be the last time you ever play. 1, 2, 3, done. So go out swinging, right? That's what I say.
Well, let me ask you this question too. That's a good part you brought up. You're talking about going in there with all your gusto, and all the young cats and all the elders that enjoy and love your playing. But let me ask you this question. I'm going to give you 3 choices if you would educate us. You had only to choose 3 of your favorite all-time drummers. Share with us who those guys are. Only 3.
3 all-time favorite drummers. Okay. I would say Gene Krupa, for being a household name as a drummer, which is nearly impossible, and being super charismatic and bringing the drums to the forefront of the stage. I would probably say Stuart Copeland, for mixing up all these cultures, he was a traveled man, and so he was mixing Caribbean and Middle Eastern and New York punk rock together to come up with something so unique. And it's so hard to find an outlet in life, to have a musical outlet where you can be that unique. You know what I mean? And then let me see. The last one would probably be, I would probably have to say Kenny Aronoff, because he showed me that work ethic and passion always win. You will always if you're willing to outwork everyone, you'll get the call. You'll stay in the game. You'll stay relevant. And so, yeah, Krupa, Copeland, and I mean, of course, I love Kenny's playing and his power and his passion, but more than anything, his sense of developing a career, which is so many people can learn from that, because I meet so many drummers in the world that are really gifted, incredible, but they're just not willing to toot their own horn just a little. You have to let the world know that you exist. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck playing in your mother's basement the rest of your life.
Amen. And let me tell you, you brought up something I think a little while ago that I'd love to hear also, because I love this fact. You know, when you've been blessed to work with the who's who of the industry, and likewise, but you know, not too long ago, I was playing at a club in Newport Beach, and I just got done working with Third World, the big reggae group. And when I walked into the club, I just simply brought a little commando set up, a set of timbales and two congas and some shakers and so on. And this kid, younger than me, was in the audience, and he walked up to me on a break and he said, "Hey man," he goes, "I just saw you at the Gibson Amphitheater, Universal Amphitheater." He goes, "with Third World on Bob Marley Day. What are you doing here?" "Playing with a local band." And I said, "Well, it's a fair question, but I have a mortgage. And the big shows aren't always there, and the big paychecks aren't always there. And the bottom line is I'm here for one reason, because these guys kick my fucking ass, and I want my ass kicked." Yeah. And that's the reason in. So, the bottom line is, like, I had on Richie Cannata and I had on Liberty DeVito. And coming up, I'm gonna have Russell Javors, the original band of Billy Joel. And when I interviewed Richie and Liberty, they both said, because they have a group called the Lords of the 52nd Street. Amazing. I want you to check this out, Rich. They're incredible. These are the cronies in the industry. But I love the fact of the matter is they said, we're going to be going on tour right now during the hiatus with Billy. Hey, Billy, if you're listening to us, come and sit in with us. And I thought that was the most incredible thing to do that, because there are so many great artists out there that are road dogs. They're homeboys. My dear friend of mine, as I said earlier, Henry Capono from Hawaii, great singer-songwriter, composer, actor. And we'll get more about that with your situation. But, a friend of mine said, man, I was watching Henry live in Honolulu, and this guy walks up on stage with a pair of flip-flops, a short, open shirt, and a pair of board shorts. And it was Michael McDonald just started coming up and just sat in, and the same thing with a guy by the name of Jimmy Buffett does that all the time also. And so it's good to walk away from those huge situations and show the fact that you are a player regardless of what it is. And I want to pick up more on what Rich Redmond does on the other side of the coin, on the other side of the drum set. And when we come into segment number 4, the second hour of a 2-hour interview, I want you guys to understand what this man is doing. We just talked about it. It's being relevant, but also, too, not putting your eggs in the quintessential basket. So with that said, you guys keep those questions coming in. We're going to pick it up on segment number 4 with my in-studio guest, drummer, author, spokesperson, Mr. Rich Redmond. This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the Intertalk Radio Network. You guys do yourselves a favor and also go on to iTunes or Google Play and download our easy-to-use application. 2 words, Intertalk Radio, Intertalk, second one, radio, and take us on the go when you can't hear us live. So guys, don't go anywhere. There's so much more in store on the second hour of a 2-hour session with my in-studio guest, Mr. Rich Redmond. Rich, don't go anywhere. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be back here momentarily. So stay tuned. Get yourself something to drink. You don't want to miss a thing. Talk to you soon. This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be the music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Enter Talk Radio. You're in to all things music.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Big old backseat, I love them type tracks right across my back. She gives me high performance jazz. Rock comfort full of premium, her engine moans. My sweet ride drives me home, yes shit. Drives me home, well shit. Drives me home, she drives me home. Her daddy was a caddy, all luxury and class. Her mama was a sporty thing, shiny, tight, and fast.
Everybody, welcome back. Hey, it's Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by the Intertalk Radio Network. Hey, guys, before we continue on, I want to say hello and to give a big shout-out, for the lack of a better word, to the people who line our bank accounts, people who pay our bills, and those are our sponsors, and I want to say hi to them, and we appreciate you guys immensely. Let's start off with our dear friends of ours, Calvin Lee and all the motley crew over at Pitbull Audio, the world's largest online electronics store itself, located in South County, San Diego area. And you can reach them at pitbullaudio.com, where they just want you to play it loud. And also, I want to say hi to all my friends over at Optimal Body Personal Fitness, who's keeping Jackie back in shape and getting my back to normal. That's David Lyons and Kendra Lyons. Thank you, guys. Love you. And also, to someone I know that Rich is familiar with, a company called SIR, Studio Instrument Rentals. And you can reach them at sir-usa.com for all of your backline and rehearsal studio needs. And then let's talk about the people, our newest sponsor who's sponsoring Jackie's Groove, and that would be called Blue Mic. And you can reach them at bluemic.com. Amazing, amazing recording and broadcast microphones. Thank you guys for your belief. And then also to Vater Percussion, VATER Percussion, who's been giving me my drumsticks for the past 22 years. Also Sabian Cymbals, SABIAN.com, who's been giving me all of my splashy sounds here itself. And that's going on almost 23 years. And someone I'm more biased to, and two people, Drum Workshop Incorporated, DWDrums.com. As I said earlier, Don Lombardi, John Good, and Derek Zimmerman and Jerry and Terry and everybody at LP Music. I'm celebrating 27 years. That's lpmusic.com. Okay, long-winded. The business part of the interview is over with. So let's talk about Rich Redmond. Rich, we know you're an amazing drummer, but there's more to Rich than just sitting behind, a drum set and flailing your sticks like Monster from Sesame Street. It's a good way to describe somebody. Everybody knows who that cat is. But introduce the listening audience to what else Rich does to accommodate income and to feed your soul. Share with us.
Sure. Well, thank you, man. For about a decade, I've been doing an event called my Crash Course Success, and you can go to Crash Course 4, FOR, crashcoursesuccess.com. It's basically CRASH is an acronym. It stands for commitment, relationships, attitude, skill, and hunger. And I always mention this, whether I'm just doing a clinic at Guitar Center or Sam Ash or a mom and pop music store, or I also speak to Fortune 500 companies like Microsoft and Cisco and Johnson & Johnson and Hewlett Packard. So it's kind of like a team building event. It kind of defines like edutainment. I get booked a lot to open or close massive corporate events. And I also speak to like high school graduations and, college business groups, community events. It's a really, really fun thing that I've been doing. So I do a lot of that. And for the last 2 years, I've been acting. And so if you're completely bored, you're looking for something to do, you can go over to richacts.com. And on that site, you're going to see 6 short films that I co-wrote, co-produced, casted, acted in all by myself and with a cool director friend. My buddy CG Reich, who's a killer percussionist. I think you probably know CG.
That's my brother also, man. That's my brother.
In the dramatic arts, doing stuff together. So, yeah, I'm in Nashville. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm taking a lot of auditions. I just auditioned to be a spokesperson for the track phone the other day. I don't think I got it, but, the acting field is 85% unemployment rate, and I actually have a day job. So it's just icing on the cake for me. It's really, really fun. And then along the way, I also have a new educational product that's called Drumming in the Modern World. That took 3 years of my life to basically go from thought to execution and distribution. It's out. It's a digital product. You just go to drumminginthemodernworld.com, and it's 120 educational movies, 6.5 hours of material, performances with artists that I've worked with over the last 15 years, and deconstruction of all the Jason Aldean hits, drum solos, lessons, and advice and philosophies on how to navigate the music business. And it's a good investment. The most affordable package is what I call the whole enchilada. And you just click on the product. It's a picture of me holding a massive enchilada. And it's usually $150 for 6.5 hours worth of material is now to celebrate Valentine's Day and love in the month of February. It's $99. So I'd love for you guys to check that out. It'd be amazing.
And we're going to talk more about the your URLs at the end of it, so we can re-educate everybody. And too, they can also go back onto the archives if they happen to miss that. Or you can also send me an email directly to Jackie@jackiesgroove.com with any questions that we have after the show is over with. And I'll make sure, if it's okay to field the questions, I'll ask Rich, and we'll get back with an answer. So, because we're all about promotion, we're all about keeping it real here on Jackie's Groove. And I got to tell you, brother, I love the fact and how open you are about this and to share your story and your legacy. But I want to ask you a question. And I think it's a very fair question because I ask everybody this. But let's put your thinking cap on for a second. I want you to think really, really hard, because I know the answer to my own question. I've asked it from everybody, but I'm going to ask Rich Redmond right now. Think about the very first time you heard yourself on the radio. Where were you? What song was it? And tell us what you were thinking about it. What were your emotions when you heard that happen?
Awesome. That's a great question, Jackie. I can remember vividly. I was 33 years old, driving I-40 west towards downtown Nashville. I was in a band at the time with the same rhythm section that I play with in Jason Aldean's band. It was in a band called Rushlow, and our lead singer was Tim Rushlow from a group called Little Texas. They had sold 10 million records, and Tim wanted to go and start his own group. And so we put a record out on Lair Street Records, and our first single was a song called I Can't Be Your Friend. Like I said, I was 33 years old, and all of my hopes and aspirations and dreams for my life, it came to fruition. I heard myself on the radio, and I was with my two friends, Kurt Allison and Tully Kennedy, who I see more than anybody and more than my flesh and blood of my real family. We've been to 18 countries together. We played on 23 number one songs together. We heard ourselves together for the first time on the radio, and 3 grown men cried because that's, the music business is so tough. And the only way it happened is because we had a vision, we had a focus. There was a laser focus. There was follow through. There was failing so many times, and every time you fail, you get one step closer to success. Right. And that was the first little bit of success. I mean, the first real bit of success for me was when I got a gig with this gal named Pam Tillis. I was 29 years old. It was the first time I ever was playing songs where everybody knew every word to every song. I had a drum tech. Don't touch that, Mr. Redmond. We got, here's your water, sir. Like, whoa, this is crazy, So that was the first little bit of success. But that was hearing myself on the radio. Yeah, that was. I'm a late bloomer, Like I tell kids, I say, did I want to play the Hollywood Bowl at Madison Square Garden when I was 21? Yes, but I didn't do it until I was 41. So that's 20 years that I could have quit. you know, so.
But you did it.
You can do
did
anything
it, brother.
you want to do. You
you'll-
just got to follow through. Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to be passionate, and you got to learn how we use a term out here, and you know the term. It's called, you got to woodshed, brother. You know, just because you know what you're doing doesn't mean you can't reteach yourself and keep yourself going. And with that question, I want to ask you, because, you know, if everybody goes to richredmond.com or just go to Google, you'll see that this brother is in shape. For an older guy itself, man, he's keeping himself relevant and he's keeping his body in tune. But, you know, you'll agree with me on this, Rich. You know, things that we did 20 years ago are a little bit different, a little more difficult now as we get into our midlife areas. You're approaching it. I'm there already. But the fact of the matter is, what I want to ask you is, sorry, my phone is going off here. What I want to do is I want to educate the audience out here. Yeah, tell me about it. Talk to me about, and talk to the listeners out there. What does Rich Redmond do prior to going live on stage and doing a 2-hour show? What is your preparation? Tell the young guys out there.
Yeah. Well, my day is usually, I'm one of the first guys up. Because I go and I either do a motivational event, or I teach lessons or a masterclass, or I do a clinic on the road. And I'll do that between 9 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. And then I get dropped back off at the venue by my host, and then I do a sound check at 3:30. And that usually goes anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. And then it's time to squeeze in a workout. And then there's dinner, shower, and then I warm up for an hour backstage on a practice pad. So I do some stretches. You know, I'll probably stretch twice a day. Do some stretches that I learned from a trainer. You can buy a book. You just Google it, buy a book on stretching. It gets more and more important the older you get. And then I just get the sticks in my hands on a practice pad backstage. And, you know, the band is grooving. We're listening to music, and I'm going through my singles and doubles and paradiddles and accents and flams, and just getting that the juices flowing. And then it's 5 minutes before the show. I hit the bathroom, man, because you do not want to have to pee for 2 hours. And then
trust me when I tell you.
Man. Yeah, you know, you're in it. That's actually kind of
Rich,
a
the
thing
reason
for me.
why
I cut off.
I laughed at.
Yeah.
Let me jump in here. I'm sorry, there's delay here, guys. But I laugh at that because you brought up a pertinent point. Why just bring it up? We just had this conversation with a buddy of mine not too long ago. And we always talk about the fact does Rich Redmond like to eat before a gig? I think you already answered the question. But the fact of the matter is, you know, I mean, I remember years ago, I was working with Michael Paulo and Tris Imboden, your friend Trish, you know, Tris, of course. And, with this great kind of a Latin jazz gig, and at this great restaurant called Mucho Gusto in Costa Mesa, California. The best Tex-Mex food you've ever had in your life. Now, I've gotten myself in shape over the past 9 years. I've dropped 200 pounds. So, yeah, I'm, it feels good to be a man that's half my size. But the fact of the matter is, when I wasn't that, I was a 400-pound brother that loved to eat, being the consummate Italian. But I had eaten this beautiful meal, and I'm not going to get too detailed, but it was some carnitas. It was a very spicy meal. And we've got a sold-out crowd at this great intimate jazz club with all the who's who of players on stage. And we're in the first 2 minutes, and all of a sudden, Rich, my stomach goes, and I'm like, okay, that's okay, cool. And then 30 seconds later, my stomach went again. And all of a sudden I went, and no pun intended, oh shit. And this opening song was probably about a good 8-minute song. I was dying.
Oh no.
Literally dying. And so long story short, I excused myself during the song, went into the bathroom, and could talk about being a comedian like you. People know my personality, and I walked back up, and I still was able to, they were just starting the second song, and I just sat down, put my mouth to the microphone, I said, much better now. And so, of course, they laughed it off in the audience, you know, in the group. But the fact of the matter is, no, I don't like to eat before the gig. But the thing is, it's a double-edged sword, because you'll agree with this situation. There's nothing worse than doing a great 2-hour performance, being famished, and then taking that quintessential to-go container and eating late at night. How do you stay in shape that way and still keep food in your stomach without eating at 11 o'clock at night? Or can you do that?
Yeah, no, it's a challenge, man. I like to have some energy happening for the show, but it's definitely got to be lighter. Of course, if I eat at 5 o'clock, dinner serves at 5 on the road. We play at 9:30, you know what I mean? So there's 4 hours there to kind of digest. So I just subscribe to very simple. Like the simpler you can eat, the better. Of course, I am a foodie. I love experience. I love taco trucks in Los Angeles and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's egg whites and avocado or oatmeal in the morning with black coffee, and then for lunch, it's some sort of a salad or a kale salad with a chicken breast or tuna, and then the same thing for dinner. Just trying to eat as clean as possible.
Yeah, man, trying is the big word itself, because as we get older, as men, I'm over 50 years old, and I tell you, everything that goes into my, where women, when they eat wrong, goes to their hips. When men eat wrong, it goes to their stomach. And, but the fact is, I'm not going to lie, I love food, man. And that's the whole thing about it, because even growing up and even to this day as the quintessential musician, of course, money is the first and foremost situation, but we also want to know if food is part of the gig. And then working with these big shows like you do and I do, we know that catering, is amazing, because they feed us well. They feed us well on the road. But people have to understand also, you just brought up the whole situation of what it takes to be Rich Redmond in the morning. But the fact of the matter is, kids, listen to me. There's no glamour in the music business. The glamour starts when the lights go up. And believe me, as a percussionist, and I'm the last guy to go in for a sound check with these guys called drummers, how many fucking times do you have to hit the small tom to get the sound out there? And I say that, and I'm being dead serious. Drummers are a pain in a percussionist ass, because they get more time with the sound guys than anybody does. And with percussion, it's okay, Jackie, get up there. It's a center conga, middle conga, right conga, color, timbales. Okay, good. We'll fix it in the mix. So with that said, I want to educate the listeners out there and let them walk in your footsteps for a second in this last minute and a half here. Do you have a preference on stage to listen to yourself through wedges or through in-ears? What is your preference?
I use in-ear monitors. I've been using in-ear monitors since 1999. And if I ever get to play with wedges, I don't complain about it. I just do it, But no, in-ear monitors have changed the expectation for how good musicians need to be, because you can hear every little flaw, every little flam between the kick drum and the bass player. Everything. And it has made bands and musicians better because you're under the microscope. But no, when you go to check your drum sounds, just hit big open tones and let the drums vibrate and ring, and the sound man will love you. Don't do a drum solo. But I will say this about playing with a percussionist: if people out there have not had the pleasure of playing with a percussionist, it's awesome, because you have to listen, because you kind of become a team. If the drummer is playing super dense, he's not going to leave any spots for the percussionist. So what I like is like a true team ensemble. So if I'm playing on the hi-hat, you can pick up a shaker, kabasa, because I've seen Ron, with Kenny G. He does a great job. I mean, he's been doing that job forever. It's just all the right stuff at all the right times. But you just have to listen. And to take it one step further, if you're a drummer and you've never played percussion, buy a Remo djembe. Go out and get an LP cajon. Experiment with this stuff. You don't have to be the greatest in the world, but just experiment. Learn how to play a shaker and a pop bongo pattern and a pop conga pattern, and learn how to play a tambourine in time. You'll be able to understand the percussionist, and if you get good, you'll be able to make twice the amount of money, because that's what I do. I record my own percussion on my own tracks.
Hey, Rich, hold that thought, Seb. I want to pick that up, because that's a good point you brought up. You guys, don't go anywhere, man. I can listen to this man talk all day long. Everybody, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, Intertalk Radio with my in-studio guest, Mr. Rich Redmond. Rich, just pick that up. Just pick that up of being two sides, percussion and drums, or the lack thereof. Don't go anywhere, guys.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it, because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back to segment number 5 of a 2-hour interview. We're going to be bringing in these last 2 segments with my in-studio guest, Mr. Rich Redmond, and this is Jackie Bertoni. Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. Rich, jump back. Who is that? That song is kicking my ass.
Thank you, brother. That is actually the title song, the theme song to my Drumming in the Modern World package that we were talking about. And it's just, I spend my whole life backing up singers and storytellers that it's nice to occasionally play an instrumental rock song. But that's Bryan Love on guitar. He's a great guitar player here in Nashville. We wrote that song together. And that's Vale Johnson from Kenny G's band on playing a fretless bass.
Of
and
course,
so we
on
recorded
bass.
that about a year ago. And if anybody's into that kind of style, they can see that with 7 camera angles and including a robotic jib and I filmed that at an iconic studio here in Nashville. It's all over there at drumminginthemodernworld.com.
I mean, that song, and again, one of the questions here from the listener here, and I love it. Question, I had the same situation about the snare drum on that song. How deep was that snare drum? Because it sounded like you were playing in a canyon. I love the way it was mic'd. I want to know, what was that and what manufacturer?
That was a DW Eco kit, which is made of bamboo, and it was actually the first one they ever made, and it was a gift from my buddy Scott Donnell. I was actually doing a motivational speech on the impact of manufacturing and the environment and companies that were going green, and DW is a very green company.
Right.
So I ended up playing this bamboo kit, which sounds really, really amazing, really snappy and high-end attack. And that snare drum is, I think it's the 5.5 Black Beauty copy, the DW Black Beauty copy, the black nickel thing that they have. I'm so horrible with like the exact titles, but it's their version of the Black Beauty.
Very, very cool. And again, too, you brought up something earlier, but I want to just talk about the last segment here. You brought up the fact about playing or having the privilege of playing with a percussionist, because unfortunately we, as the percussionist, we don't always get the gig because usually we're talking about budget and there's one thing they can do without, and then we're talking about a Latin gig. But when you're talking about something like, in this case with Danny Reyes, with Zach Brown, you got Zach Brown playing djembe now on stage, and you have the boys from Chicago with Tris Imboden, who's been with Chicago for 27 years, and Wilfredo Reyes, who always will be the quintessential drummer, but he's playing the percussion with Chicago for the last 6 years. Again, Chris Fryer from Zach Brown's band on drums, and also Danny Reyes on percussion. So with that said, you brought up a great point, and I appreciate that. I just wish wholeheartedly that every drummer was a percussionist and every percussionist was a drummer. And there's a reason for that, kids, because I can tell a mile away when somebody's playing percussion and you find out that the guy's a drummer, it's a no-brainer. But it's those few guys out there, the Alex Acuñas, the Wally Reyes's, and the list goes down the line, that understand both sides of the coin, and you can listen to it. And you brought up a great point. It's when you're up on stage, and it's Rich's responsibility to fill in every hole, the ghost notes, the accents and so on. But when you have your compadre, when you have another percussionist to your left or to your right, it's got to make you smile, man, because you're there to do your gig, but you can also lay back a little bit. What is your favorite part about playing with percussionists, and tell the listeners why?
Oh, my favorite thing is, and I get to do it so rarely in Nashville because there's very few gigs. I mean, there's a Zach Brown gig. That is the only gig in Nashville that has a percussionist, because most of these acts are playing with two laptops on stage, and they're running tracks from Ableton.
Right.
So there's a tambourine and shaker and synthesizers and background vocals. And I'm happy to say that my band doesn't do any of that crap. We just have maybe a couple drum loops, and that is it. It's just five guys on stage playing their instruments. But playing with the percussionist is very, very satisfying, because you're both, you're painting a picture with the rhythm. And the main thing is that you're listening and you're creating colors that work together, things that work well together.
Right.
Like, how is the maraca going to sound better when the drummer goes over to ride the floor tom, or is it going to be a double fisting the LP shakers, or is it the bongos on the bridge, or is it the conga pattern, and is this song screaming for a Mark III and a wind chime thing, or can I put the kabasa thing on the verses? And so I just like thinking that way. And like I said, since I understand both of those things, it's very, very helpful when working with a percussionist. And there's so much for me to learn about the traditional rhythms and calls from the other countries, because like I said, I have this new group with C.G. Reg in Chalo Eduardo called the Rhythm Dragons. And these guys are coming from, having studied all those cultures. I'm just the guy that has taught himself a lot about percussion because I was unafraid of it. I taught myself how to create tones on the congas and how to play the djembe and how to play the cajon. And maybe it's the correct Peruvian way or it's just I do it, and I do it my way, and you can definitely hear the difference in the sounds. And I'm just fearless about it. I just own it. And it's just another way for me to express myself. And I think percussionists respect that I'm willing to go there and just be, just kind of bare all and just be willing to do it. Just a willingness to go there and learn about something else that you don't do every day is very cool.
Yeah, and I like that. I tell a lot of drummers who haven't played with percussion, I tell them one thing in my personal opinion, because I learned this from a lot of the great Latin players. Learn the clave, gentlemen. Learn the clave. The clave is the rhythm and the heartbeat of Latin music, and you can introduce clave into most any type of genre of music. And once you learn that groove, that it goes beyond a 6/8, and it goes beyond a straight 4, and so on. It's just that ability to play in between the lines, as you said, to color in between the lines, and also to step out of it. And being the right type of player, like with Ronnie Powell, Ron Powell, Ronnie hates when I call him that, but that's what happens when we're friends for 35 years. But when you talk about that situation, more young players want to know, hey, Jackie, how did that sound? And you know what my response is? How did that feel? That's the greatest response. You don't have to play it as it is, quote unquote, written. There's a great falsettos out there that play it regimented, a non-airing, but it's also good if you're going to step out and make it, quote unquote, your own. Make it so it's believable. And we talked about that earlier, about being to err is human. How many times has Rich Redmond played a song over and over again? But there's times Rich Redmond has fucked up on a tune. I know there's times that I have also, and I've learned this from the greatest, and I laugh my ass off. And I learned this from Emilio Castillo, my mentor and the founder of Tower Power. He said, if you screw up during a song, I don't care how many thousands of times you've played this song worldwide, if you screw up on a certain part of the song, when you come back to that second part of the song, screw up again. And the audience will never know the difference, and that's a fun part. And the funny thing about it, we know as musicians, we could be on stage killing. You could be with Jason Aldean on stage. And I'm sure if Jason's probably forgot a line of a song that he's written, a song he's sung over and over again, the most amazing thing I love, Rich, is when the musicians look at each other, we forget there's the masses out in front of us, and we laugh our asses off because we knew we fucked up. And the bottom line is, that makes us real. And, you know, and that's what makes it believable. Let's put it that way. So with that said, has there any, and share with the audience here, let's talk about a nightmare, and let's talk about it, not so much personally to yourself, but think about something that happened on the road that could have been a disaster or was a disaster that you want to share with us.
Well, I would just say there's nothing particular comes to mind. I got to say, I play with the most consistent band. I mean, because like I said, once you have a body of work, your show becomes, you're like a human jukebox, and you're out there, and your job is to execute those hits, because the audience wants to hear that thing, you know, they're used to hearing. But the more we incorporate technology, that becomes very, it's like an Achilles heel, because if your singer forgets words and you are playing with regimented tracks that have different parts on the verses and the choruses, it becomes a little tricky. And that's why you'll see drummers on stage. There's two Macs on stage that are talking. One is a default. The other one kicks in, or they're running at the same time in case one goes down. And they have SPDSXs, and they have kill switches in case the refire Ableton, and it becomes like this robot drumming nightmare. And it's like so many big acts do this stuff, and I'm just glad that we are not really doing that. We just get out there like old friends and play music together. But the potential for that stuff happening these days, it's a massive reality. So you got to have a backup plan for
Rich,
all that
let me
stuff.
share something. Let me share something with you, and I'm glad you brought that up. We talk about Macs and so on. Let's step back to the early 90s, 1991. I worked with two prominent, huge bands back then. First one called CNC Music Factory. Everybody Dance Now, Make You Sweat. I don't care how country you are, you know the song. Everybody knows that tune. And also with the great guy. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's your boy Jackie on 4 minutes and 3 seconds of a go-go bell, and not looped, playing straight through. And then also another gentleman by the name of Stevie B. I was out with the both of them doing a dual bill, double duty. But the thing is, when I joined that band, on stage, there was a great electronic instrument, and I say that with tongue-in-cheek, called a Roland R8. You remember that beast?
Sure.
And when I showed up on stage at the Universal Amphitheater, Tony Moore, was the drummer on the gig, and he had sucked up all of the extra mic inputs because he had all of this electronic gear running. So I had all of that shit removed because that's it.
Tony Moore.
That's it. Remember, he used to be. Yes, of course.
Dude,
and that was the Tonys and our first gig together. That's crazy, Tony, man. In fact,
Tony, he's my homie,
go
man.
Ahead. Tony, you talk to him, tell him about this, because he was pissed off because I told him that the only way we're going to go on and do this gig is for him to disconnect those two R8s. And he was freaking out. And he was freaking out to the fact of the matter is he goes, well, man, because we can't deal with this shit, man. I got to have it. All the percussion's coming through the cans. And I'm looking at him like, dude, what are you looking at right now? You're looking at a live percussionist. And that was the first time we ever played together. And it was the first time he ever played with a percussionist. And so I changed this young cat's mind about, how to actually play with percussion. And I might be the first one to admit it, man. You know, he had a great band, but Stevie B's voice, if it was any sharper, how many cats, literally felines, had to give their lives as sharp as this guy sang? And we used to look at it and we used to laugh at it, but we took the money. But the fact of the matter is, Tony was so grateful for the fact of actually listening to the live stuff that he had programmed to play it live on stage. And that's so cool that you know him. I've lost contact with Tony years ago. And
I'll connect you guys, man. I mean, like I said, and I'll brag on my friend Tony. He actually, he was the first drummer in Nashville to really get serious about creating a personal drum tracking space. And he called it the Downtown Battery. And of course, every drummer in town has followed and has their own personal space. But he went large, man, and has all the outboard gear and all the vintage, tube stuff and amazing microphones. And he gets a world-class drum sound in his place in Franklin, Tennessee.
What a small world, man. And he started out, the first time I met him or actually saw him play live was with a group called Expose. Do you remember the girls?
Expose one. And I bought his
had,
case that said Sweet Sensation. Do you remember Sweet Sensation? I don't know if you remember that, but
yeah, of course.
I have his.
Yeah, of course
I have
man.
his case that says Tony Mora, Sweet Sensation.
You know, I'm an East LA boy. You know, so we were on two opposite sides. I mean, to look at the time where Tony had that quintessential big New Jersey, New York style hairdo. And in fact, I'll email you a picture of all of us. How we look back in the yesteryear. So please tell him I want to talk to him, man. I would love to share my numbers with him, and that would be great. And also too, and I want to ask you this question too. And please, I'm going to implore you as a brother, if you know of anybody, and forgive me for sounding la-da-da here, but if you know any other notable players like yourself that could benefit from Jackie's Groove and Intertalk Radio, please, brother, just like your brothers, Scott Cooper. Put you and I in contact with each other. So if you have anybody else out there that wants to do the show, I would love to introduce that situation, and we would highly appreciate that introduction. So, and I'm just blown away with Tony here. That's cracking me up that all these years later, that we would have somebody in common here. Now, let me ask this question about music here in this last 2.5 minutes. If I was to hijack your iPhone or your media player or even your car for that, what am I going to find in rotation music-wise?
Great question. I like to revisit the sounds of the 70s, man. I think some of the greatest music happened between like 68 and 81. I mean, but the 70s, you had all the Zeppelin and the Stones and the Beatles and all the sounds of classic rock, played by real musicians together in the room at the same time. And I don't want to sound like an old guy, but there's just something special about that era of music. And of course, I love Americana music. So anybody that, your Steve Earls, your Lucinda Williams, your the Drive-By Truckers, I love Americana music. Of course, all the Mellencamp stuff. So I constantly revisit that stuff. I really, really do. Classic rock too. Classic rock. I listen to everything. I really do. And kind of have to, as a musician, you really do have to kind of know the history of at least the last 100 years of popular music.
And that's a great situation, and I didn't ask you this at the beginning, but growing up in the Richmond, and the Redmond family, what was Rich listening to, or what was playing through the speakers on that little console that the mom and dad had? What were you listening? What were the family listening to that inspired you way back then?
Oh yeah, it's funny. Oh, I was just talking about this the other day. How remember the Columbia Records and Tape Club? My parents were. It's like for a penny, you get these records delivered to your house. So my parents, they had this really eclectic mix. They had the Commodore's greatest hits. They had Kiss double platinum. They had Charlie Daniels. The Devil Goes Down to Georgia. They had Santana, Broxus. They had Frampton Comes Alive. So it was just like I was just listening to this kind of a pastiche of different things, and then I just got, like I said, MTV happened, and I was in love with Martha Quinn, the DJ, and then I discovered the Police, and then it was just that opened up that floodgates of watching Friday night videos and watching concerts on MTV in El Paso, Texas, and trying to figure out what the drummer was doing, and
Hey, Rich, we're going on 25 seconds. We're going to turn on this because you bring up some great ideas, man, and I want to talk to you about something called a roadie or a tech. I want to give you a shout out to your guy that's doing his job, that's there before us, there with us, and thereafter. I'm going to pick that up on the last segment, 2 hours. Amazing interview, brother. Thank you so much. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio. With a great guy, man. And, a guy that loves to talk more than I do, and I love it. Mr. Rich Redmond. Guys, don't go anywhere. Last hour coming up. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every
Are you
Wednesday.
serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back to segment number 6, the last segment of a 2-hour interview, an amazing, funny interview, an educational interview with my in-studio guest, Mr. Rich Redmond. Hey, guys, you know what, man? Rich and I are chopping it up on the break here, just amazed about, our our current friends and who I used to start out working with years ago. But I wanted to ask you, Rich, one quick question. I neglected to mention, we talked about percussionists and drummers. I want to give a shout out to my dear friend that we lost about 5 years ago, and I'm sure a friend of yours also, and Mr. Tom Rohde, one of the greatest percussionists in the Nashville area. We lost him to this fucking thing called cancer, and I think about Tommy all the time, man. I met Tommy back in the years when I was working with Tower, and he was working with Paul Anka. That shows how far back we go. So, Tommy, I know you're looking down and you're listening, man. I love you, brother. And with that said, did you have any opportunities to work with Tom Rohde, Rich?
Yes. We never played a gig together, but I have fond memories of Tom because he was one of the few people that welcomed me to Nashville with open arms and showed me the ropes and said, "Hey, kid, you sound really good. You're going to be just fine. Hang in there." And we would check in with each other over the years. And it turned out his widow was selling some of his stuff. And I went and I bought some of Tom's shakers and tambourines and things. They're all in my little studio here that I use. I don't take them out. I mean, they're just kind of special to me. But I was like, I will take those. I will take amazing care of those things. So a little piece of him is here with me at the house. And I just remember that like he, Eddie Bears, Lonnie Wilson, all very nice and encouraging to me when I moved to Nashville.
And Rich, what is the name? I get the last name is called Franklin. What is the fiddle player, the violin player out of Nashville? Is it Paul Franklin?
No, Paul Franklin is a top call steel player. He plays a lot in that group. So it's like with Brent Mason and Eddie Bears and either Michael, so he's in that group. The fiddle player, the funny thing is fiddle is if you're a fiddle player in Nashville, you're in trouble because it's just not on any of the recordings anymore. It's like, it's not being used.
It's like being an accordion player. Exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah,
it's crazy, man. Hey, and we talked about this also, and I want to throw it out there. as I said earlier, there's really no glamour in what we do. The glamour goes on when the lights go up, and we're forever thankful for that, and to support the stars that we're playing for and the stars that we are ourselves. But I want to also something that is neglected, and I did a great interview with Aaron A. Train Smith. Aaron, who was with the original drummer from the Temptations. Papa was a Rolling Stone, etc. I had him on the show about a month and a half ago, and I was blown out of the water to find out the fact that road guys, techs, roadies are not something that was etched in stone when Manster, started playing, with rocks and clubs. And the fact is, even with the Temptations being at the top of their game at that time, that Aaron had to set his own rig up and had to tear it down after playing in these huge stadium gigs. I mean, I'm thankful for my techs. Why don't you go ahead and give your thanks to the gentleman that takes care of your gear? Hopefully he's listening, but give him a shout out.
Oh, yeah, he would love that. My friend John Hull. It's Jonhull. You could probably Google him or look him up on the socials or whatever. But he's a great young man. He's 25 years old, and I met him 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. I was doing a clinic at the Percussive Art Society, and there was like a little receiving line afterwards just to talk to people. They had questions. He waited to the very end so he can have time with me. He goes, hey, I need to get my degree. I'm studying, music at this college, and I need to do an internship. I was like, great, come to Nashville. He followed me around the studio. He followed me around town, and they said, come on the road, see what that's like. I'll get you a bunk. And it turned out he did such a great job, and he was starting out. He was very affordable because he was so young, and so management hired him and said, this is your guy. Right. But, for the first 6 years of Jason Aldean touring, for the first 6 years, I did all my own teching, which is a great thing for you to do, even if you're playing larger venues, because it's a great skill set to learn, because you learn to really appreciate your tech, and you work out a system, a methodology for yourself to get on stage and off stage as quickly as possible. And it teaches you to be a real Boy Scout and make sure that you have 2, 3 of everything, tools, parts, everything, because something bad will happen when you're in middle America. So that's John Hull, and I gotta brag on him because he's really grown his career, and he's he teched for the new Paramore record, which is a huge rock band, and he's also teching this weekend for a big rock band called Story of the Day or Story of the Week. I think Story of the Week. They're a big rock band. And sometimes it's okay to go do a gig. You don't need a drum tech, but for me, even when doing my motivational speeches, when I'm done with my performance, John could be breaking down the kit while I go and I talk to the clients and the people. So it's usually, even if you have to come out of pocket sometimes for events, it's worth its weight in gold to know that you're going to be covered and someone's watching you, got your back.
Yeah, because as I said earlier, man, the techs are there before we're there. They're there with us, and they're there long after we leave. So guys, shout out. I hate using the word roadies. Let's use the proper term. They're called techs. And if it wasn't for them, we'd be lost. Nothing like trying to tighten your cymbal stand after mashing on it and then finding out that you're waiting for somebody like the ball retriever from a tennis match. That's what these guys are. They're there. Their eyes are on you, and they're ready to rock and roll. So thank you, techs out there. We couldn't do it without you. And, something about I can't do without, and I mentioned this a little earlier, man, I'm up here, I'm gabbing, I'm doing 3 shows a week. It started originally 1 show, 1 hour per week, and it got so popular, and thank the dear Lord out there, and thank you for all the listeners worldwide that now have made Jackie's Groove so popular that we are doing now broadcast Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 12 o'clock across the board PST. And we're thankful for that, man. And we're thankful because we have guests like I have right now, Mr. Rich Redmond. Hey, Rich, I wanted to ask you a question, man. As I said before, thanks to your road tech, let me just tell you, my tech is also the CEO of this network. I mean, he keeps this crazy thing going, and the COO, Paul Brzezinski, he's the man that puts all the music up, and he's the one that keeps it. We had this tight-knit organization in this big network, and I thank you guys, and I thank my girl Megan. She's the one that took care of getting you, Rich, on this show, and also Alex, that keeps us away from the IRS, our CFO. So with that said, I'm going to bring on Florentino. Florentino, if you're there, my brother, please say hi to Rich Redmond. And Rich, please say hi to Florentino.
Hey, I'm wearing a different hat now, Rich. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how are you, my friend?
Good. I passed the controls over to the man who really knows him well, which is Mr. Paul Brzezinski.
Thank God.
My partner in crime and CO. I knew you'd be happy about that. I have a nickname called Board Bumper. being the CEO, my brain's on like a million things, and I'm all over the board, literally, and I have a tendency to miss things every so often with Jackie for some reason or another. Just, it's never the same if
That's what keeps us alive.
Yeah, if there's one little fun little ditty that I do. But anyway, hey brother, it's been a great interview, man. Your story, your all the things that you've been doing has been really compelling. I think the listeners are equally as excited about that as I am. So I've been listening to the whole thing, and we want them to know more about you, brother. I know that you've already given some URLs and other fun things, but is there anything that we've missed, or maybe can we restate some of these ways that people can find out more about
Sure.
Rich Redmond?
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, man. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It's man, I'm a sitting duck on Google, man. You could find me so easy. You just go to richredmond.com. It's kind of like the hub for all things. It's REDMOND. And if anyone's out there in corporate America, or is a business owner, or owns a music store, or is at a college, and you'd like to host one of my crash events, it's crashcourseforsuccess.com. Of course, my new drumming product that I spent 3 years developing, drumminginthe.modernworld.com. The whole enchilada is on sale this whole month for $99. And then if there's any people in the creative arts out there that are interested in comedy, or they want me to play doorman number 3 in their next film, you can go to richaxe.com. And then on all the socials, I'm just my name on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I probably have over 300 free videos that you can watch on my YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/Rich Redmond. It's live performances where I put a GoPro behind my head and you can see me play. There's fire and lasers and smoke and 80,000 people. You can see that. Or you can see me play a small club, or I do lessons, or offer advice on how to navigate the music business. And I really would love to grow my subscription on my YouTube channel. So check that out. That'd be awesome.
Oh, wow, man. When do you sleep, brother? I don't even know.
I know.
I have no idea.
I need to go to sleep tonight, man. I need to get it. Actually, you guys would be proud to know I've never taken a vacation by myself ever in my 46 years. I'm just coming out of my marriage, a divorce, and I of course, took my bride on a honeymoon to Maui. But other than that, I've never gone on a vacation by myself.
Wow.
So I am going to Aruba on Monday for 5 days.
Well, that is awesome. Sounds great. Well, hey, man, actually, I've got your first customer for your clinics, possibly, that tuning into the show, because our sponsor, Pitbull Audio. We do a lot of clinics over there, and we actually work with them. We're doing Bunny Brunel this coming Friday. He'll also be on Jackie's show on Wednesday, and we do this whole multi-camera live shoot. So offline, we'll talk, because I coordinate all that stuff for them, and we work in tandem with your whoever your endorsee is. I think you mentioned it was DW, right?
DW ProMark Sabian Remo LP.
Well, DW is a big product line for these guys, so there's some real possibilities there. So we'll talk offline.
I love it. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm gonna pass you back to Jackie.
You got it.
Welcome back, brother. And thanks, Florentino. I appreciate it, brother. And there's your $20. It'll be in the mail tomorrow. With that said, I got to tell you, I'm looking at all this stuff, man, and I'm digging you, brother. I feel like I've known you forever and a day. And, and I got to go through my albums that I've been on to make sure that if we actually did see, and I didn't realize that Richie Canada, I'm sitting there telling about what a fan I am of him and Billy Joel, and how one of these days you and I will either share the stage together or we'll share an album. He goes, Jackie. And I go, yeah. And he goes, we did share an album together. And I said, when? He goes, we did Brian Wilson's Imagination album together, and I was on the song South American with you and Jimmy Buffett. And, of course, I rifled right through it, and sure enough, there it was. So, it's like as you get older, people say, hey, Jackie, who have you played with, man? And I got to tell you, I just refer them back to my, to my website, because think about it, Rich. A lot of the stuff that we've done is a blur, and it's saying we're just thankful to remember what's going on now. There's some things I want to forget about. And I'm sure there is too with you, but there's some things I just want, I want to revel in too, and the situation is I'm going to put an open invitation out to you. Do you know with Jason, are you coming to the West Coast at all, California in particular?
Yeah, I haven't gotten my tour dates for the West yet, but I know we are playing Los Angeles, but usually like every year, every other year, we'll do the round. So we'll do Los Angeles, we'll do Mountain View, we'll do Sacramento. That's usually our run over there. And maybe we might do like the Chumash or one of the big, casinos too. So as soon as I know, I will let you know. And, to the listeners out there, I would just want to let you know that it's been a lifelong dream of mine to live in Hollywood. And I am now a truly bi-coastal musician. I am living in Hollywood and Nashville, 2 places, 2 cars, 2 rigs. It's an expensive lifestyle, but I am doing it. I am loving it. And if anybody wants to, study with me, take lessons, play some music together, just let me know, and I'll let you know when I'm going to be on the West.
And that's beautiful, man. Because again, back to it's all about promotion. What we're known for here, Jackie's Groove and Intertalk Radio, we're currently promoting and successfully Al Di Meola's 40th Elegant Gypsy Tour. We did it last year with us on the West Coast. This year, on the 40th anniversary, is only going to be on the East Coast, but we're still helping out Mr. Di Meola, my personal friend. But I want to put this out to you because what we did with Danny Reyes and Zach Brown, we did, and what we're known to do is I like to bring everybody together. I mean, if Jason would be down for it, that'd be great. The last one I did live was with Michael McDonald, and we got the band together in kind of like a round table and did a nice little 45-minute interview with everybody and introduced the band out there, and and they can share their stories too on the road. So when you guys come to the West Coast in this area, please give us the opportunity to come down and do a live broadcast with you guys. The listeners would absolutely love it. And if this is something that would interest Jason and the rest of the band, please reach out. We're here to help out. You know what I'm saying? So there's the invitation.
Yeah, my friend,
around.
I just say that I think you and I should just get together, do some playing. I think we'd get along fabulously like brothers from another mother. So I look forward to it, man.
Trust me. In fact, when you come back out here, man, let's get a hold of CG. My home studio was out here in Winchester, which is Temecula by the wine country. And I'd love to have you come down, set it up, man, chop it up. And like CG and I, we go back many, many years, more than we want to admit to. But it's a small world. I wanted go ahead.
I was just sorry. There's that little delay that gets us in trouble because we like to talk. But I was just going to say that, people come into your lives. I feel like I've known Mr. CG forever. If anybody wants to check out CG, it's CG Reich, R-Y-C-H-E. And he's a wonderful player. We have a project together. But he's so talented. He's a filmmaker. He's an editor. He's a composer. He came into my life at the exact moment that I needed somebody like that, a visionary that just didn't write me off. He said, like, dude, you have potential as an actor. You want to do this? We can do this. I'm going to help you. And we've done so much. Maybe I think I've known him for 16 months or something like that, but it feels like a lifetime. But I love to get out there. But, I almost forgot, and I don't want to sound like a human billboard, but this is so important. I host a drummer's weekend. Do we have time to talk about it? Just 2 seconds?
We got 1 more minute, man. So knock it out. 1 more minute.
Okay. I was just going to say, my second annual drummers weekend, Los Angeles, is going to be at Musicians Institute in the heart of Hollywood, California, April 21 through 23. And I've got my guests are Jason Sutter from Marilyn Manson's band, Greg Bissonette plays with Ringo Starr, Gergo Borlai, Richie Gahate, all the great teachers from Musicians Institute. I've got my friend Michael Lear, who's going to do a yoga class. CG is going to do a clinic. And it's fantastic. It's 3 8-hour days of hands-on training. I have catered meals, and we do lots and lots and lots of playing. There's lots of door prizes, and you can register until April 7th at Redmond, REDMOND.com. We'd love to have you there.
I love it, man. And patronize it because you just mentioned Richie Gahati Garcia. He and I go back years. He was on my show a couple weeks ago. And also go on to episodes on demand on jackiesgroove.com and listen to the interview I did with CG Reich also. And so with that said, everybody, God, I had a great frigging time. Rich Redmond, my brother from the other mother. I got to tell you, one of these days, my brother, we will share the stage together. I'll duct tape CG in the closet so he can't come out. And we welcome you guys all. So everybody say goodbye to Mr. Rich Redmond. Rich, thank you, brother. I love you, man. And thank you for participating in the show. And I guarantee you we'll see each other face to face. So with that said, everybody, God bless you. Thanks for listening to Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove and Talk Radio. And as I always end my shows by saying peace through music. God bless everybody. Thank you, Rich.
Thanks, everyone.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe.
allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. Pitbullaudio.com.